Sorry, I'm not Violet. I know you were expecting Violet on stage, the founder of Lunch, actually, right? Well, you're not going to get matchmaking here in my speech, but hello, everyone. What if I told you that the secret of a long and fulfilling life isn't about your diet, exercise, or even dunking yourself into an ice cold bath? What if I told you it's something far more accessible? The answer lies in strong communities. Research backs this. Over 100 years worth of research has shown that those with strong societal ties live longer. In fact, those with strong societal lives are 50% more likely to outlive those who don't have strong societal ties. So communities are important. They're important for our longevity and well-being. Our roots as mankind, our roots of our existence all lie in communities. Communities of what have kept us together. Communities are what have given us a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. It's what has made mankind survive all of these years. You see, together we're stronger, and together we're protected from the dangers out there. We have, over many, many generations, evolved, but the one thing that stays the same is our need for strong communities to survive. So in keeping with the theme of this event about roots, I'm here to share with you how we can all go back to our roots and learn how to build strong and thriving communities. I'm going to start with high school and some of my experience. This is more than 30 years ago. I started the cricket team in my school. We had a very clear purpose, play cricket. We communicated that purpose to our members and people joined our club. The one thing we lacked was consistency. You see, our weekly cricket practices often devolved into football matches, because we like football more. Sometimes we didn't even play cricket. We didn't even have practice. That community lasted all of a year before the school shut it down. In university, I started one of the earliest communities of the university. It was a brand new university, and I started that community called Showbiz to bring my love for business and drama. And it was a bustling, strong community which till today still exists in some form at the university. While at university, I did a whole bunch of other community building activities. I formed, I led, I participated in numerous communities. And I learned a lot. And some of those communities that I took part in or started more than 20 years back, they still exist. When I went to Denmark on an exchange program, I was a student in the School of Aarhus, School of Business. I started a community over there. I called it the Student Exchange Club. And I brought all the exchange students together simply to have gatherings related to interests that we were all passionate about. Now, it grew a bit out of hand because there were so many different interests, from traveling to cooking to partying to eating, and eventually we didn't really quite make the community as successful as it should have been, but it was a good try. When I graduated from university, because this was a brand new university, I started the first alumni association of the university with a few other people. And we spent weeks and months building the constitution, building the fundamentals of that community. A community which still endures till today, 20 plus years on. The fundamental building blocks that we put in place remain today in the community, in the association that we see at this university. I then moved to India very shortly after. And while in India, I saw a need to connect all the young foreigners together, because I felt that in this city of Mumbai, it was a bustling, thriving, busy city, and I saw all these young foreigners and I said, wow, what if we just connected them? Now that concept spread like wildfire. We had hundreds of people attend the activities organized by our community that I started, the Foreign Youth Club. We got featured in the India newspapers, on TV. It was great. And then a year later, I moved to Singapore, where I took the concept with me. And again, in Singapore, it was very popular. Young people liked to be connected with other young people in the same city. We threw a lot of fun activities. We had a hilltop party, we had a party on a yacht, We booked out some of the best nightclubs in Singapore, and we basically just brought young people together to get to know one another, and that concept was extremely popular. But alas, like with all my previous experiments with communities, I left Singapore, this time to the United Arab Emirates. Now in my first month in UAE, and I kid you not, I got kicked out of a movie hall by some young local kids who just didn't like foreigners. And they had the home ground advantage, so they got me kicked out. And I was very upset. A short while later, I was at a very popular tourist destination in Dubai. I took a picture of the scenery, and I kid you not, I got scolded by a local Emirati man who said, "How dare you take a picture here?" And I said, "What do you mean? It's a public place." He said, "No, my wife is in the picture." And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize she was in the picture." These two incidents led me to reflect on what I felt was a great need. A need to bring the expat and Emirati communities together. And that's exactly what I did with E3, the Emirati Expat Exchange. I formed a community. I brought the two different communities together for activities, events, and cultural programs. And it caught on like wildfire. It was very popular until I stopped running it. You see, I did get busy with other stuff, and I then ended up leading a business council in the United Arab Emirates. And this was a little bit more serious than all the fun stuff I did before. This was to bring professionals and entrepreneurs together for professional connections, get them to build business, make money. It was fun. I did that for a while, and I also managed, I don't know how I did this, but I managed to find time to actually do some work with alumni associations of my alma maters. We were very active in building communities of different groups of people for professional and personal reasons. And again, like the story goes, I moved. I moved back to Singapore, and today I lead a fast-growing community of aspiring global leaders in Singapore. Now, if some of you have sensed, there's been a pattern across all of these different experiences I've had. What is the secret sauce to building a successful, thriving community? What is it that we can do and learn from in order to build our own strong, thriving community? And the answer is very simple. It's in what I call the 3 C's of community. Not 3 A's, no, not 3 B's, 3 C's for community. What are these 3 C's? Clarity, communication, consistency. This is a universal framework that applies across all communities. Whichever community that you want to build, knowing these 3 C's will help you in building a strong and thriving community. Clarity of purpose, communication of that purpose, and consistency of action. These are 3 simple ingredients you need in order to make your community successful. I'm going to show you how the 3 C's model applies across different types of communities. And there are communities that are formed around people, like Taylor Swift and her huge fan base. There are communities formed around products, like Apple, and their very loyal Apple fan base. And there are communities formed around purposes, like those passionate about the environment or the neighborhood bridge club. Whatever community it is, whether it's around people, product, or purpose, the 3 C's apply. Let's talk about the Swifties. You all know the Swifties, or if you prefer, the Arianators, Little Monsters, Believers. Right, so those are the fan club communities of Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, Mother Monster herself, Lil Gaga. Right, so these communities we know. They're very strong. We love them. That purpose is undeniable. People who join this community are in there because of their love for the artists, the music, and the message of these artists. Now let's compare this to the fan club of Psy. You guys remember Psy? Gangnam Style? Gangnam Style. Right, it attracted millions and millions of people. But have you heard of their fan club? What are they? The psyches? Psychos? I don't know, psychics? Whatever. We've never heard of this fan club, right? And the reason that we haven't is because the difference between the Swifties and the like and the psychics and the like, are that in one case, the consistency of action is there. Taylor Swift, has been releasing new and new music all the time. She's always top of mind. We hear about her all the time. We see her. She's got fresh music going on, and she communicates very regularly with her fan base, online, offline. She has tons of speaking engagements. You see her. She's present. You see the purpose is clear. The consistency is there, and the communication is there, unlike the fan club of Psy. Look at the Apple versus, let's say, Samsung. We all know that those are two great companies. Brilliant products, right? Excellent user design, excellent interface, and yet we all know the Apple fan club is crazy, passionate, deranged maybe. And yet the Samsung fan club, have you heard of them? Not really. What separates these two communities is the 3 C's that Apple has employed. You see, when you're a part of the Apple community, you're not just there for the product. You're not just there for the high CPU power, the great camera, and all these product specs that are always shone under light by Samsung. No, you're in the Apple fan club because of their very purpose, which is undeniably clear. Think different. Break the status quo. We resonate deeply with these values that the Apple community has adopted. We love that, and that's why we are so passionate about Apple products. I mean, think about the communication. Every year, millions of people gather together. Why? They gather to listen to Apple announce the launch of the new latest products. We're thrilled, and we want to be the first in the market to buy those products simply because the communication of Apple has been so effective at getting people interested. And consistency, all the time. There's a lot of consistency in what Apple does. And the consistency in what they do is not only linked to their regularity of events. You see, the consistency also comes in the predictability of what they're doing. When you go to an Apple event, you know what it's about. You know that they're there to sell you the ideology, the brand, the think different. That's what consistency refers to. The third purpose, the third community, the type of community, which are those around purposes, I think probably the strongest example of this is really religion. In religion, the clarity of purpose is absolutely crystal clear. Those who are in the community are there for their belief in God. And they regularly communicate that. They regularly communicate their mission, what they believe in. They share the word of God. They get people to know, they communicate. And the consistency, if you look at what they do in religions, whether it's every Friday or every Sunday, there is a pattern of predictability and regularity in what they do in order to continue a thriving community. Research backs all 3 C's that I've shared. When it comes to clarity, it has been shown, studies have shown that communities with a well-defined clarity of purpose have a much higher member satisfaction. Why is that? Because you see, if you're not clear about your purpose, and your purpose, by the way, doesn't have to be world-changing, it can be any purpose, whether it's to form a bridge club on a Friday afternoon, or whether it's to really change the world and do something dramatic, whatever that purpose it is that you've got, that clarity must be there. Because if you don't make yourself clear, you attract the wrong kind of people who have their own expectation as to what the community is about. And then when they go for your event and they say, that's not in line with what I thought this community was about, they get dissatisfied. And therefore, the clarity of purpose is essential in making sure you have a strong, thriving community. Now, the second C about communication, that communication is not necessarily just verbal, it can be nonverbal too. In fact, raised fist, an olive branch, rainbow flag, these are all symbols, powerful symbols of communication that communities can use to communicate their vision to others. Studies have shown that communities that communicate often have a much higher member engagement. And finally, on the consistency, studies have also shown, in fact, the University of Michigan's recent study has shown that even if you have events once a month, that's enough to significantly boost members' sense of belonging to your community. That's it. Just once a month is enough to dramatically give your members a stronger sense of belonging to that community. Now imagine if you were to have more regular events. That'd be even better. So those, my friends, are the 3 C's. I want to try something out here. Let's try creating a community right here, right now in this auditorium. And the first thing I'm going to get you to do is look around. Look around at the new members of your community. Wave to them. All right? Look around and wave. You're looking here at members of this newly formed community, forged by the common bond of having had the pleasure to watch this talk or ignominy. But all of you here, as members of this new community, let me make the purpose of our community very clear. We're here to support one another on our mission to build and grow strong communities. Remember, this is about human survival. This is about your longevity and well-being. So our clarity of purpose is really to support one another on this journey of building and growing strong communities. Second, now that we've got the clarity right, it's useless for me to just keep it to myself. I need to communicate that verbally to you so that you know what we are all about. And as I said earlier, the communication is not necessarily verbal. It can be through the use of symbols. And the symbol that we're going to use are the 3 C's. And our symbol, our greeting, is going to be this. This here, try it out, it's actually quite fun. This is the C sign. And this C sign is what binds us all together. This is the symbol of our community that we have just formed here today. All of us here, members of this newly formed community, with our C sign. When we see each other with the C sign, we know that we've all had, as I said, the pleasure or ignominy of having watched this TED Talk. The last C, consistency. So it's not enough for us to be clear about the purpose. It's not enough for us to communicate the purpose. Now we got to be consistent about it. Every month from now, let's make a point to meet up. In small groups, let's make a point to meet up and discuss best practices of starting a community. What's worked? What hasn't worked? How can I help? How can I support? Let's do that, because remember, building communities is all about human survival. With that, thank you all very much.